Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and it is time to have some fun. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Well, after a very, very long wait, we are returning to some Methane, ladies and gentlemen. And what an absolutely... First of all, the title itself, Declare Chaos. I didn't realize I needed permission before, but you know what? I'm glad that I have their permission. And just to show again my gratitude, ladies and gentlemen, I decided once again we're going to go for the whole shebang, because you know what? Methane pretty much deserve it. So we're going with the full biker getup, as well as just putting on my curb chain, just basically because I can. This is living the dream, ladies and gentlemen. And you can even see just like I love the way that just the gloves are. I mean, I could probably put on the actual gloves itself, but I feel as if like that might be a little bit too bulky. It's not necessarily the greatest thing to like move about in the first place. But when you sat here, ladies and gentlemen, and you feel you look like a biker from Mars, probably, but when you look like I do, you can pretty much just about do anything you want, because, let's face it, it's never stopped me in the past. And with all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, I'm stalling at this point because I want to just get this show on the road. So, oh, they're good. You know how much of a fan I am of Methane. Like, putting it up with the likes of Overkill and, at a pinch, Stone Jesus as well. It's sort of like this beautiful concoction of some of the most savage guitar playing and some of the most brutal lyrics you could possibly hear from today. So, let's get started. Declare Chaos in 3, 2, 1, and...
Treachery, humanity.
Boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. That was Declare Chaos. And I'm going to start this video off with a very bold move by saying that I think there's something of a bit of a fault in metal, ladies and gentlemen, is that there's bound to be one of those politically charged sort of songs. And this is the sort of thing that's been occurrent all the way going back to the days of Black Sabbath, possibly even before that. I think the Kinks are probably were the ones who may have done it, considering they're arguably the ones who invented heavy metal in the first place. This is still up for debate, and maybe when I come round to doing stuff like You Really Got Me, like almost Genesis from heavy metal, we could get into then. However, I'll tell you what I really got into is the fact that they decided almost specifically to focus on on American Dream. That is, my first thought was that this is absolutely the sort of thing I would imagine Overkill would write in their sleep. The aggression, the screaming of Declare Chaos, or Give Me Liberty is an American, what was it, Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death. I know fine well I've heard that before. I think it's the expression goes, you have no more use than my horse. You either declare me liberty or give me death. And I because again, some of the bars in this hit hard, and I've never once used the word bars in the context of heavy metal, but that's just absolutely fantastic. In poverty we trust. Now there is something obviously you could say about those impoverished. The mass majority are basically. Although it's basically a whole conglomerate, and they're much easier to get along with and trust. The issue with that, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's I would say maybe that's something to go at, like just like talking to the everyday the average Joe. Except what Methane are literally are showing us right here is almost extreme poverty. People living in what I mean. This is one shot where it looks like tents made out of garbage bags right outside at like a disused mall. Almost looks like a kind of like a fortress. And I'm trying to find like specifically what was the line right now is that tent cities. That's the word they use to describe it. And I'll level with you, ladies and gentlemen. I've only seen like a corner of events of all the riots involving Black Lives Matter, including probably a lot of other things besides. But I think specifically, I wonder sincerely whether or not Methane were ever in any of these cities. Whether it was in what city was it in? Was it like Massachusetts or Minnesota when it all started? I'm not entirely sure if I can remember off the top of my head, but I do remember. They were rioting through the night and possibly for the next week and a half about this. And it's I think to sort of be in the middle of because I've never been in the middle of such chaos like that, because you could almost argue that some people are only joining in just because they want to just break shit, as Limp Bizkit famously quoted. But it kind of it really did kind of like make me wonder a little bit about sometimes what is it people that are really rebelling against? Do they want to? Are they in for the cause? Do they want to just have the opportunity just to beat some people up, or do they just want to hide in the crowd so they won't be recognized as possibly perpetrators of violence? Other times there are those that just embody chaos. And some men who just want to watch the world burn. Maybe Methane were watching The Dark Knight, for all I know, when writing this. I honestly can't say, but to be honest, phrases like tent cities, steered by the white-collared elite, and protesters rise against. I'm literally just going to go on a limb and say this is literally just they went with what they saw. Because you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, in spite of lockdown, in spite of all the shit that went down in 2020, people still had to work. They still had to make money, and they still had to do what they could. So they took inspiration from virtually all around them. And since Methane do have quite a good reputation about writing about incredible amounts of violence in their songs, I mean, if you take a look at stuff like Hang Me High, The Devil's Own, 72, Scars and Bars, you're going to find it's sort of a little bit of a running theme. But what I think Declare Chaos, I mean, this is sort of like the first time I've really even checked out like a music video, I'd say, from Methane, and it's the lack of editing and just straight up displaying what you saw. The only real like signs of editing, and maybe this is just coming from tabloids as well, because you can even see here a mark from the Daily Telegraph, I think, in the corner. Now, I don't know whether or not they're just using some like VHS effects, especially on this one thing where they show silence is murder, and it looks like I straight up, it just, everything you see in this and everything you hear sounds incredibly authentic. How does Kanye West put it like this? Oh god, let me see if I can remember. Close your eyes and let the world paint 1,000 pictures. One good girl's worth 1,000 bitches. The last part notwithstanding, but let's just take any frame. Let's say the 133 mark. Okay, maybe that's a bad example because it's mostly just like blurs between like what looks like a decimated street in New York and Methane literally performing in a club somewhere. Or how about just in one scene from like 335 is when this police car is just absolutely on fire, which is that's very striking to show the level of violence with resentment against the police. And if you go towards another sign here, that's 205, just Tent City is all over the place. It's like on every corner, on every street, and even just scenes outside the White House, which has this devilish yellow glow about it, and you see police and SWAT in full riot gear, possibly like I am, literally just surrounding the compound because they're that nervous and worried about a breach and trying to chase then United States President Donald Trump out of the White House for good. And it is absolute chaos. The amount of if it's not the copious amount of scenes of the violence towards police or police retaliating, it's the massive crowds gathering outside. It's the fact and if it's not just that, or you see sights of street signs, but there's like fires every single block or so in one of the last frames of the video, and it's almost literally you'd be amazed almost if you were looking at this like 10 years in the future as to whether or not this was the beginnings of a second American Civil War. Do you reckon probably, I mean, to be fair, probably the first Civil War was probably a lot more bloody than this, but it kind of, it gives you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, because it would have been as like living in a war where you're free to just about do whatever you want because who on earth is going to stop you? Because it was from excessive abuse by the police as what resulted in not just riots in the US, riots, uprisings, changes to history, changes to what we can do in the modern. Everything was almost caused or started to cause by what happened last year following the murder of George Floyd. We'll never forget about stuff like that. It's simply, it's partly of the reason why we are now today is through events like that. You can never forget about stuff like that. No matter, and I know it's very, very difficult for people out there to write saying that of course they don't agree to it, but they don't agree that all the good things that came out of this have been for the better good. And no matter how anybody and it's no matter whether or not people say it's good, is that people will fight, as Methane quoted. People will fight for their cause. People will fight for whatever the hell they want to fight for. It's not going to take, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to take a lot more than just to tell people that they have absolutely no room to fight. And when it comes to... I'm still giving Methane absolute credit for just... I think this was intentional for this to come across as an overkill song, because if you go back and listen to stuff on... what's the... I don't know if it's like Elimination or Skull Crusher. Elimination sounds like the sort of thing you would want to play in a riot, from its aggressive tempo to the shrieking, the screaming. Methane, I would say, I'm just going to like play a little bit right now, just before this. I'm going to go try and get to the solo, because it seems to be a lot more matter of fact about it. And, well, go for it. Yeah, it is. The message is almost perfectly clear. Is that it's one of those tales of rebellion, and maybe Methane made their points about what happened last year probably very clear. But I gotta say right now, ladies and gentlemen, is that if for no other reason, I think Methane did, I think, a very, very good job. Everything about the song was absolutely geared towards exactly what happened, and exactly the sort of mindset that could just straight up lead you into just saying, screw it, we'll just go out there and we'll literally we'll bring hell to earth. Other times, ladies and gentlemen, it's one of those grim reminders that sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you just need to wait for the right moment, and then you have perfect authority to declare chaos. Give me liberty, ladies and gentlemen, or give me death. Maybe I am in the wrong line of work. Maybe I should have just been one of those savage bikers who just rides around the desert and just plays heavy metal literally all day long. At the very least, at least people will remember me some way. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this reaction video to Declare Chaos by Methane. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of Methane for yourselves and Declare Chaos. I hope there is far more coming, because they did promise there was going to be like a new album last year. I think it was like Year of the Rat, I think. Ironic, isn't it, from the virus. I mean, it was the year of the rat last year, but unfortunately the rat brought the friggin' plague with it. And I will hope to all of you guys again. I've been waiting literally a whole year to make that joke. You wouldn't believe it. In the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.